Okay, today's topic is about the Nephilim. And for those of you who don't know, the Nephilim are people in the Bible that were said to be, well, let me start over. People think that the Nephilim are angel-human hybrids. They think that angels came down to earth and bred with human women and had what's called the Nephilim, N-E-P-H-I-L-I-M. And says that they're giants, and the reason that they're giants is because they bred with angels. Anyway, they go off this passage in Genesis, and I'm going to read it to you. And this is where they get their information. It says, Genesis chapter 6, verse 1. When men began to increase in number on the earth, right, men and daughters were born to them, the sons of God, which they think are angels, saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and they married any of them that they chose, right? So they're saying the sons of God married the daughters of men, and the sons of God are angels, the daughters of men are human, and the angels married them, which we'll get into all that. And then God said, my spirit will not contend with man forever, for he is mortal, and his days will be 120 years, right? Verse 4, the Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, and it's going to repeat, when the sons of God went to the daughters of men and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown. Then verse 5, the Lord saw how great man's wickedness on the earth had become, and that every inclination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil all the time. The Lord was grieved that he had made man on the earth, and his heart was filled with pain. So the Lord said, I will wipe mankind, whom I have created, from the face of the earth, men and animals and creatures that move along the ground, birds of the air and all that. Then comes the story of Noah and Noah's Ark. So here's my problem with people that think that the Nephilim were hybrids. First of all, what we know about angels is that they are spirit beings, okay? Sometimes they're referred to as the sons of God. Other times, humans are referred to as the sons of God. And they say the Greek translation or whatever means, angels and whatnot. Whatever. Again, let's use some logic here. They're spirit beings, and not that they can't come down and possess a body, because a lot of times messengers in the Bible that were angels presented in human form. And it was a temporary thing, and I don't know what their capabilities were, but we know that can happen. We know that evil spirits can possess people. That's all throughout the Bible. Jesus cast out many evil spirits and demons from people, so we know that. But Jesus also says, and I don't have the passage in front of me, and I should, but he says in the New Testament, when they're talking about a woman that's had many husbands and who is she going to be married to in heaven, and he said none of them, because we are going to be like the angels in heaven, no marriage, which to me means no sex. So my thoughts are the angels are spirit beings. They don't have DNA. They are incapable of reproducing. Whether they come down in some form or not, on earth. So people contend that, these angels came down, had sex with women, married them first of all, which is a godly thing to do. So you're saying they say it's fallen angels, evil angels that fell from grace from God, that rebelled with Satan and fell to the earth. So these fallen angels, these godless, evil angels, married women. Married them, which is a godly thing. God set up marriage. So first of all, they wouldn't marry them, but let's just say they did. So they married them and had children by them. Well, you have to assume they were normal-looking human being type people, if these women married them, they weren't like 15 feet tall. It would be physically impossible, possible for them to even have sexual relations with women. So let's just say that's what they did. But why is it people think that the result of those two things has to be a giant hybrid? Some kind of giant has to come out because, an angel bred with a human. Well, there's no logic in it. They just jump to the next thing, and they assume that if an angel breeds with a woman, that offspring has to be a giant and has to be what's called the Nephilim. Well, let's go back to Genesis, where God says, my spirit will not contend with man. Man. So he first mentions that the sons of God married the daughters of men, right? And then immediately, right after that, calls them men. He says, my spirit won't contend with men. It didn't say, and with hybrids. It said with men. And then, he's going to only let men live a certain amount of years, 120 years. So, and then later on, he says, God saw that the wickedness of all men throughout the earth, meaning men and women, mankind, their every inclination and every thought was wicked, so he was going to destroy the earth. Not because of the Nephilim, that's what people say too. Oh, he destroyed the earth because there was these unholy hybrids that came out of the union of men and women, and God needed to destroy that. Okay, really? So those evil angels that are spirits can't just come down later and do it again and again and again and again and again, even to this day? I mean, yeah, some people say, the angels are locked up in the dungeons. Read the book of Jude. Well, some of them are, but not all of them, because obviously they were around in Jesus' time. He cast demons and spirits out of people all the time. So did the disciples. So evil spirits are still around to this very day. And the way that they destroy mankind is they tempt them spiritually and mentally, not and physically too. Probably they wreak havoc on people, but they do not have sex with women and have children. What's the purpose? What's the purpose of that? Some people say, it's part of their fall. That's what they did. They lusted after human women, and et cetera, and they left their positions of authority. That's what it says in Jude. Well, doesn't say what that is. I mean, we see references as to angels having positions all throughout, over the earth, both good and bad angels. Again, I don't have the passage, but Michael or Gabriel says, I was detained for 21 days with this angel that he was battling with because he resisted him. And then he came, I think it's in Daniel, he came to give him a message and everything. So, at least it was like that then. I assume it's like that now. There's like an unforeseen battle going on, between good and bad angels. They're just constantly at odds with each other. But anyway, if you read the book of Numbers, the Numbers 13:31, when Moses sends out spies into the land, and they come back and they say, "Oh my gosh, these people were huge. They were the descendants of Anak, A-N-A-K, known as the Anakites, and the Nephilim supposedly came from them." It says that the Nephilim are the descendants of Anak. Along with the Anakites, I guess they named them after him too. They're giants. They're way bigger than us. We can't do it, and all this other stuff. Whatever. They were descendants of a man. There's giants that exist right now today. Like if you were to look at Shaquille O'Neal, or someone who's actually got the physical condition of having a giantism or whatever they call it, it's a genetic thing. They're huge, and most of the time they can't even barely move. But let's just think of someone like Shaquille O'Neal, who's almost like 7 feet or whatever he is. If he has a wife that's like 6'6" or 6'8" and so on, they can very easily have a race of people that are extremely tall and large statured. So That's not hard to imagine. So when Moses, sent these spies out, Caleb came back and said, no, let's just attack them. It's no big deal. And later on, it even goes to say that Moses defeated them, the Nephilim, the Anakites and all. So they obviously didn't have any special powers or anything. I mean, they killed them. So did David and Goliath. And I'm not saying they weren't big. Maybe they were, 10 feet tall or 9 feet tall or 8. No one really knows. But David killed him. He killed Goliath. And Moses killed other giants, and I'm sure other people killed them too, all throughout Scripture. So, it's just, I don't know if I'm the only person that thinks this. I don't really see too many people arguing against it. Maybe they just, it sounds all, they fantasize about it. Oh, the angels had these giants and they had these babies and all. And I guess they came out normal size, by the way, because you had these 5'4", Israelite women that were having these children. I can't imagine they came out as a giant. I guess they just developed into a giant. And again, it doesn't even say how many there were, whether there was just a few, whether there was 50 of them. Whatever. They don't even exist. They didn't exist anymore after they, and then my thought, my logic would say, okay, well, if these are fallen angels, right, and they're, they had sex with women, with human women, well, there's still fallen angels in the world, and we know that to be a fact. They're not all imprisoned or anything, and there's proof of that in the Bible, again, with Jesus casting out demons and whatnot. How come they're not doing it right now? Where are the current giants? Where are the current Nephilim? Where are they? Where are these 15-foot tall, giants that, these angels would be having sex with women? Right? If they rebel against God, which they always do from when it started till now, they are still rebelling against God. What, is there all of a sudden some kind of rule? God said, well, you can't have sex with the women anymore. Well, they wouldn't listen to that. They would still be doing it, and they still are wreaking havoc. It's mental and, spiritual havoc. But, according to these people, they would still be having sex with women right now. They would be marrying them, maybe unbeknownst to them or whatever, and these women would have children, and they'd be giants. They'd be 10 feet tall, 15 feet tall. And once again, where are they right now in this current age? They're nowhere to be found. Nowhere. And God doesn't even mention it when he says, mankind. I'm going to destroy all of mankind. He refers to the whole earth as mankind. He doesn't refer to them as, well, some mankind and some angel hybrids. That's why I'm going to destroy earth. That's not what it says. Read Genesis 6 again and again and again. It says, I'm going to destroy mankind. And he calls them mankind right after he says, the sons of God married the daughters of women. Daughters of men, sorry. He refers to them as man right away. You got to read it and look at the periods and commas. And then right after that, he calls them mankind again. It's all inclusive of all of society in the world at that time. So, and plus, what would the purpose of an angel having sex with a woman, again, if it happened, right, with a human woman, what would the purpose of them having a giant be when they could just be easily killed by a man? What's the purpose? Unless, their part of their fall was to just want to have sex with women. I don't know. It just follows no logic. And even if you run it out, it still makes no sense. So I believe that the Nephilim were just large, statured humans that were genetically tall, and they just had sex with each other, both women and men, and that's how you came up with the Nephilim and the Anakites. That's it. So they were big people. They were 6, 7 feet tall, and maybe most of the Jews were 5'4", 5'5". It doesn't say. It says King Saul was head and shoulders above the rest. Well, what was he? 6 foot? 6'2"? I don't know. It doesn't say. So. But it's interesting the fact that the spies that Moses sent out to spy the land, they just were like, oh my God, we can't do it. And they exaggerated, and they called them Nephilim, even though they probably weren't. They were descendants of Enoch. And then Caleb, one of the spies, was like, no, we can get them, we can kill them. So they must not have been that impressive that a normal man didn't think they could just destroy them. So Anyway, I don't know if I'm the only one online that feels this way. It seems like most people want to fantasize and talk about, you know, hybrids and reptilians and all that nonsense. It's just ridiculous. You know what? They just want to add their own thoughts of some crazy notion. And, you know, I'll make another video because they even think that, you know, Satan himself is the father of Cain and a bunch of other, you know, humans by some of the wording in Genesis. But I'm going to attack that in another video because that's just as ridiculous, if not more. So anyway, those are my thoughts. I just pick a little fight with some people about that. It's just, I just think it's ridiculous, you know, this whole hybrid thing and all this craziness. And read it for yourself, look it up, have an open mind. Again, you know, I'm trying to get people to read things and go through life with using some logic and looking into things instead of going down a certain path. Because if you want to believe something, you will. You can find anything online or anything about, no matter how crazy the belief, that strengthens your argument or your belief. So most cases, if you want to believe something, then you end up believing it without looking at it objectively. But you know what? You can't make people do that. I'm just trying to teach people how to practice that and make decisions for themselves. Anyway, it's not the end of the world if you believe one way or another. That's just my 2 cents. And good luck again. Take care.